Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing? It looked like there was a spot on my eye, but there's not. How are you guys doing this evening? Just really, really late evening, early morning for me. It is 5:02 a.m. and I have like slept all night long. My allergies are driving me crazy. They were driving me crazy last night. I tried to sit outside and read and get some stuff done, and I just started sneezing like crazy. And so I went upstairs to like hang out and talk to Alex before he was going to bed. And the next thing I know, I woke up and it was like 4:15 a.m. So needless to say, a lot of the things that I wanted to get done, I did not get done, including starting the magic book, because I was going to do that last night. I fell asleep like really early, and I was going to sit outside and read and do my magic book because I hadn't had any time yesterday. So if you are doing the magic book, I actually did a whole video on my Peterisms channel talking, well, not the whole video wasn't about that. I also read a meditation, but a majority of it was about the magic book. And so I will be personally starting it tomorrow, which will be the 2nd. But it doesn't really matter like when you start it. Just do it for 28 days and we can talk about it, or I mean, I can talk about my experiences and you can share your experiences in the comments and stuff like that. But I also didn't want to just like whip through it. Like I really wanted to sit down and kind of think about it and things like that. So yeah, I had all kinds of things I needed to do tonight that didn't get done because of my just being exhausted, I guess. And because it's so late, this is not going to be a long vlog because I have to take PP to the his vet appointment tomorrow for his check-in. Now tonight he like coughed like once today earlier, and he coughed like once tonight. We'll see what she has to say tomorrow. I'm a little worried about it. I was surprised the last time I went in there and she said that he seemed just as good as he had the time before. So, I mean, maybe she'll say the same thing. I don't know. She hasn't taken x-rays since the very first time, so she may want to do x-rays tomorrow. We'll just have to see. Little guy. And he's pretty good at the vet. He likes her. She's really, really nice. But we have that appointment in the morning. And then, what else? I think that's it. Then I don't really have anything. I'm gonna make some videos tomorrow. And then I don't really have anything until tomorrow evening. And I'm going to my meeting with Tanya, and my sponsor is gonna go as well. Well, I should say our sponsor because she's Tanya's sponsor now too. And yeah, we're going to meet at Tanya's house, and then we're going to go from there. And then Tanya has a bunch of family that is coming into town tomorrow. So she's going to be super busy for like the next week. So I probably won't see her a whole lot. It's been kind of just a lazy day. This has by far been the worst season of allergies that I can ever remember. When I went to lunch with my dad, I said, do you think it's weird that I'm like suffering allergies this late in the season? And he was like, no, not at all. He was like, a lot of people are really complaining about it this year. And I'm like, well, I'm just like, I mean, it's just draining me. I'm sneezing so much. My nose is constantly running. Usually it kind of ends in late spring. Alex and I talked tonight about going to San Diego I think it's at the end of September we're looking at going. There's some music festival or something that he wants to go to for like 2 days, that he wants to go to with Maya and Fufu. So I think we're looking at going out there like a Thursday through a Tuesday, or a Thursday through a Monday or something like that. And I told him, I said, I want to go on the trip, but I don't know that I want to go to the music festival. I said, I might let you guys do that, and I'll do my own thing. I don't think that Fufu's girlfriend is going to go to the music festival, so maybe she and I can, like, hang out or something if I don't end up wanting to go. Or maybe I'll just, like, you know, hang out in San Diego. He's really wanting to, like, do that with his brother and his cousin, and I think, like, part of it for me is, like, I enjoy going to music festivals, but I don't, like, it's a lot for me, you know? I mean, and I hate admitting this, but it's like, I mean, I can kind of, to some degree, like, feel my age a little bit, you know? Because, like, he was saying to me tonight, like, he said, well, Jason goes, and, like, you know, he's like, Jason's a year older than me, and, he was like, Jason goes and has a good time. I'm like, Jason goes and stands in one position the whole night. Like, Jason records it. Jason loves the music of it. Like, cause, you know, Jason's a musician. So, like, he really gets into the music of it. Or, you know, like, when you're talking about it afterwards, like, Jason's like, oh, and did you hear this? And did you hear that? And Jason, like, picks up on stuff that, like, I never even noticed, right? Cause it's all about the music to him. But I'm, like, dancing and stuff. Well, I would like to say that I can dance for 10 hours like I used to, but I just can't anymore, you know? And the reality is that, like, one of the truths about getting older that it just is the case is you wake up a little bit slower, you know? You don't have as much, you know, it just takes a little bit more to do everything, I think, you know? And, I don't know. I do want to get on a more regular sleep schedule this month. That's one of my goals. So I may try to vlog more throughout the day. The reason why people are like, you know, oh, you should vlog all throughout the day. This is part of the reason, like, I don't, right? Is, so let's say I'm at home and I get up and I, you know, like, I'm calling people back, like, I have calls that I have to make, like, when I get up, so I'm calling people back and stuff, and then I'm taking the dogs out, and I'm doing all that, and then I get in my car and I go get coffee. Okay, so let's say if at that point that I'm vlogging, right? I'm vlogging while I'm getting coffee, and I'm vlogging while I'm, like, you know, running errands and all that kind of stuff, and then I come home, and I sit down, and I film 2 to 3 videos back to back, and then, you know, I go out and I run, like, another 2 errands or whatever, and I'm vlogging while I'm doing that. It's like literally then non-stop I'm recording. And, like, I really love to listen to my audiobooks when I'm in my car. Like, I'm very selfish about that, you know? And so if I'm in my car, I don't always, like, want to be, like, filming when I'm in my car. I want to be able to listen to my audiobook a little bit, or I love to talk, you know, to Tanya on the phone when I'm, like, driving around and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't really, like, people are always, I feel like I've gotten this question a lot lately because people are newer to the vlog. I thought it's a cute question. People are like, somebody the other night, they said, so where exactly is he driving? And I loved this response. Somebody said, anywhere, everywhere, nowhere, or something like that. It cracked me up. Yeah, I mean, I have really, actually, the direction that I was taking, that I thought I was going to go tonight, I was going to turn around and go back the other way and go into Zionsville, and I didn't. I stopped that, and well, I didn't stop that, I just kept on driving. I don't really have any direction. I'm just, like, thinking, who was I talking to today? And they were like, maybe it was when I was talking to Valerie, and she was like, how do you come up with topics to talk about? Who was I talking to about that today? I was talking to somebody about that. And I was like, I never know what I'm going to talk about before I mean, I literally am like, hello, and then it's like, let's just go. I have no idea. I mean, I could pick some random topic out of the air. But I don't even know. Do you ever put ice in a cup? I have ice in here. And it kind of tastes like ice that's been in your freezer for a long time. Even though it's not. That's what this ice tastes like. This is my old cup that I got at it was like a Christmas cup, but I don't think I got it at Christmas time. I had a red one too, but it broke, and so now I just have it, it's clear. It was funny that I said that the other day about the recycling of the cups and stuff like that, and a lot of people agreed with that and were like, yeah, I think the same thing, or I've really noticed a difference since I've used the plastic cups. I'm kind of to a point now where, I mean, I'm not going to say that I'll never buy a bottle of water again. I mean, if I'm thirsty, I'm at a gas station, I don't have my cup with me, filled with water, I'll buy a bottle of water. I'm not going to feel bad about it, but, and I can recycle it. But I've really made a dent, a huge dent. Every day I was buying a bottle of water, if not two, huge bottles of water. And then, the plastic coffee cups. And I think about how much plastic that is that one person was consuming. I talked about this the other day, that, that's if you look at a pile of 30 Starbucks plastic cups, right? When sometimes I go through there twice a day, so let's just say 40 in a month, on top of 2 of those huge core plastic bottles every day, and you put that in a pile, times, let's say, 10 people, and then we wonder why we have these huge landfills around the world, It's interesting in our neighborhood, literally every one of our neighbors recycles and has a huge recycling bin. I was talking to Jason and Melissa about that, and they were saying that, we were talking about the whole idea of recycling and how you have to pay in Indianapolis, you have to pay I think it's $20 for your recycling bin a month. And Jason was like, I feel like it should be the other way, that we should have to pay to use the trash, and that recycling should be free. He was like, we'll go, what are all of these? They have all these things on the side here, for road closures. But it looks like, oh, it's because the parade came through here. But he was like, most weeks, he's like, we'll have very little trash. I think I talked about this on here already, actually. That we'll have very, very little trash, and our recycling bin will be full. And he said, because Melissa is so hardcore about everything that goes into the recycling bin, I need to get Alex the plastic cup. I was thinking about that, because every day he gets a Trenta Black iced tea. I know that he would use the cup if I got him one like this. I actually need to do that tomorrow. I haven't used my hot coffee Starbucks thing that I got yet. I think it's small little things like that we'll probably never see the dent that we make in the world with, recycling or using these, cups instead of plastic cups from Starbucks or whatever, I mean, we'll probably never notice the difference, but it makes you think, if everybody did it just for a day, just for one day, And the sad part about that is that's not like really a far off concept. It just really isn't, you know, to say, you know, just for 24 hours, none of us are going to use a plastic cup, or that, you know, if 24 hours Starbucks said, we're not going to have any plastic cups, you know, or any paper cups, that if you don't bring your own cup through, we're not going to serve you for 24 hours or something. I mean, who knows, right? Which they wouldn't, because let's just be honest, you know, the almighty dollar is more important than making a statement. So they're not going to deny somebody something. People have been denied a lot more for a lot less. I think it's interesting, you know, like when you watch these documentaries about like where the world's going to be in like 100 years, and that, you know, like what landfills will look like in the oceans and things like that. And I really ask myself a lot, like when I go to a place, do you ever challenge yourself, like why you think a certain way, you know? I really challenge myself, like, well, why do I really think, like, why do I go to this place often of like, I don't care, or like, no, that'll never happen, you know? Like, even though I'm doing all this stuff to try to take responsibility for my part, like in my head, sometimes I think, oh, that can't be the case or whatever. Well, let's just be for real. And probably nobody that is watching this right now that is comprehending this vlog is going to be here in 100 years. Like, that's just the case, right? Did you hear that the oldest woman that was 112 just died? I think she's from the UK. And she drank like a shot of scotch every day or something like that. Somebody sent me the article. But, I think, like, for most of us that know that we're going to be gone in 100 years, why would we care? You know what I mean? Like, and then that means that we really have to care about other generations. And I think there's some true compassion in that. True compassion in caring about something when, you know, I think about this with like scientists that aren't just like on this journey of exploration for themselves to find the answers, but really for further generations. You know, that to do something and know that you're never going to be positively or negatively impacted by it. So your own selfish motives have absolutely no play at stake whatsoever. So everything that you're doing is just for somebody else, another generation, that isn't going to even affect you. Like, I think that's true compassion. I think that's true selflessness, you know? And that's hard for me to get around sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be here 100 years from now, you know? Give me the real straw. Like when they were coming out with those paper straws, which I feel like that lasted about a week. Like, I hated those paper straws, you know? I was like, there has to be a better solution than these things. But, you know, to protect the oceans, like, and the creatures in the oceans, like, I couldn't get used to a paper straw. Sure, I could. You know what I mean? Like, in probably a day, I could get used to it. I think, you know, this idea of, you know, in recovery of, you know, applying these principles in all my affairs, and, you know, to be of service to others, and, you know, selflessness and things like that, is not just about recovery at all. You know, it's really about my life in general, and who am I as a human being, and what am I doing as my part on this earth, you know, as a gift to be here. You know, it's like, I can remember in my, this is where people are like, how do you know what to talk about? It just floats from one thing that, this is like, here, we're about to change. I can feel it in my head that we're changing topics, but you don't know that yet, right? You know, I can remember when I was in college, you know, from let's say 18 to 21, before like 21 to 22 and a half, like things went like boom, like quickly downhill, right? But that was like, you know, a period where I was like kind of hippie-ish before that. And, you know, I went to all the Earth Day rallies and, you know, the candlelight vigils for Desert Storm and stuff like that. And for the soldiers in Desert Storm. And I was really about, like, positively changing the world through love and compassion, you know? And I can remember, like, having I used to wear buttons on my jacket a lot, you know? And I had some button that said something about Mother Earth and this, like, not being ours, and, you know, treating the Earth kindly as guests here. But, like, do we really think that? Like, do we really believe that? I don't think most of us really do, you know, that we're guests here on Mother Earth. And, I think there was a time, hell, I don't even know, looking back. I mean, maybe it was just, you know, cool to be in all of that, and it was a moment of my life, but and then I look at all those people that were, like, hyper-vigilant, you know, that I was friends with. I mean, hyper-vigilant about stuff to do with the Earth back then, and I'm like, what did you accomplish, I wonder? Are we any better off now than we were then? Which is a sad, you know, it's sad commentary on the world, but it makes me wonder. Or is it that human beings feel like we need to have a cause? I think we feel like we need to have a cause. And I think it's good for each of us to have a cause. There became a point in my life where, you know, I was so interested in so many things. You know, in peacefully protesting, I believed in. I believed in, you know, Earth rights. I believed in human rights. I believed in gay rights, obviously. And anti-bullying. There were so many things that I was, like, involved in. And what I kind of realized, this was, like, a couple years after I gotten sober, because I was so involved in so many different things, is that was fine, but would I make more of an impact on just picking one area, or more of an impact with my, you know, hand in 10 different things? And what I really believed was that maybe I needed to take a step back from some of the things that I didn't feel as strongly about, and let others, you know, participate in that. And that I needed to really advocate for change in the things that I really believed in personally. And those, for me, were anti-bullying campaigns, and telling your personal story about that, as well as the need for subsidized substance abuse treatment and better mental health advocacy in the United States. Like, those were the issues that I was, like, committed to focusing on. You know, one of the biggest issues that we face even today is the need, there was the end and I didn't even know it. You know, there's a lot of people out there, we want to talk about people that don't want drug and alcohol treatment. There's a lot of people out there that want drug and alcohol treatment. There's a lot of people that would sign up for 9 months if they could have it tomorrow. There's not programs out there that are low income program. I mean, the majority of the people out there, a good treatment program, like, let's just be for real. If you went to a for-profit, or even a not-for-profit probably, in your closest city, you know, like the one that I worked at here, or there's, like, Rosecrans in Illinois, or there's, like, Hazelden, you know, in Minnesota, or the Cairn Foundation. You know, Florida has, like, 5 or 6. You know, there's the Pride program, there's the Straight program, there's, like, all these different programs, right, that are reputable programs. And you're probably looking at $18,000 to $30,000 a month, okay? Like, legit. That's probably lowballing it. Who can afford let's just say if it was $20,000, okay? Who can afford, if somebody went to treatment for 6 months, $120,000 out of pocket, okay? That's after insurance, let's say. Because most insurance companies don't pay for this. Not to mention, like here in Indiana, there's like 5 or 6 really good treatment programs in the state of Indiana. And all of them have wait lists on them. I think all of them but one is not for profit. You know, one of our greatest programs here in Indianapolis, and I don't necessarily love the Salvation Army, but is the Salvation Army that's here, is one of the best treatment programs, if not the best treatment program in Indianapolis. And they have detox. I don't know if they have detox here, actually. I think you detox at the hospital and then go there. They have rehab, and they have residential, and then they have long-term independent residential, right? There's a waiting list for each program. And they're subsidized programs, which mean that, you know, the government subsidizes them and that you can get in there on low income, and you can also get on there, you know, on a sliding fee scale, things like that. But there's like a month waiting list. Well, if you're a heroin addict that does not know how to stop, you don't really have the liberty to wait a month to get into a program. I mean, that's just the reality, you know? And then we have beds available in programs that, like when I used to work in treatment, when I first started in treatment, and this was one of my real issues with the way that the philosophy of it changed over time, is that we had a lot of charity cases. We had a lot of charity beds. So, like, let's say in the hospital, if there were, I'm trying to think of how many beds we had. If there were, I don't know, 25, let's say, men's beds, 12 women's beds. I think we probably had more than that. I probably had like 15 women's beds. So let's say 25, 35, 40. And then let's say 25 adolescent beds, 24, 40. So we had 64 adolescent beds, right? So let's say out of all of that, we had 15 charity beds that the state paid for at any given time, okay? That had to be filled because the state was going to pay for them. And then you had outpatient spaces that were paid for by the government. You know, we had charity cases. And that doesn't exist in a lot of treatment programs anymore. And I don't know if it exists where I used to work. You know, that you would have to make a plea for why that person deserved charity care. But it was just like high schools, like private high schools and things like that, that, you know, you would have donors and founders and things for. We don't have as much of that anymore. And the expense of treatment has gone up. And insurance companies will not pay. If you've ever been a family member that's tried to get your kid or a spouse or sibling or parent into substance abuse treatment, what you'll find is that they will typically cover about a day, maybe 2, in detox. If they are exhibiting comorbid traits, which basically means that they overdosed, I think now probably to get it covered, you would probably have to have a physical overdose in a hospital. And, you know, and basically what a detox looks like today is moving somebody off of drugs onto a maintenance drug. That's typically what it looks like today. Unless it's like alcohol or, you know, something else. But if it's an opioid, they're going to probably, my guess would be probably very quick. I mean, I'm just kind of pulling this out of my ass. I don't really know, but this is what I see around me in the rooms of recovery, you know. Back in the day, you know, it was 30 to 60-day treatment programs followed by, you know, an assisted living program or residential treatment or very, like, you know, tight, like outpatient aftercare programs like I had, you know, like there was wraparound services that were unbelievable, you know. And I remember when I was getting my master's degree, I think it was during when I got my master's degree, Central State Hospital in Indianapolis closed down. And Central State Hospital was like the mental hospital in Indianapolis, like where I mean, it was scary, you know, it was like where they did like shock therapy and whatever. But I remember having one of my professors that, like, I can't remember what her area of study was, but she had done like dissertations on Central State closing down and how it had affected the homeless population in Indianapolis, because they did not have placements for everybody, right? So, I mean, just think about this. You have this huge, ginormous hospital, and then you have people that have been there, some of them for 20 years, okay? You're talking about severe schizophrenics that don't have any family and cannot survive on their own, and there's no group homes for them to go to. So they just basically release them on, you know, their own. Hey, here you go. Follow up with, you know, your counselor, Dr. Judy Smith, on Tuesday. And they're like, what? And then they're just out there on the streets. Well, for a long time, Central State stood just silent. It just, like, they closed its doors, the funding closed, the grant money and all that stuff. And then it just was, like, sat here. And people would go inside and do, like, ghost hunting, and it was real scary, right? Well, a lot of these homeless people went back there to live. And you think about how sad this is. And I remember this professor talking to us about this, because she was like, they went back there because they didn't know where else to go. It was all they knew, you know? And so they would go back there and squat because that's where they felt safe. Like, they didn't know any better. They didn't know any different, you know? We have a really huge issue in our country right now that people want to just, like, act like it's not out there, about mental health diagnosis and the lack of treatment for it, you know? We're worried about, I mean, there's a lot of issues that I think that we should be worried about in this country, but people are dying every day by being misdiagnosed and not getting their treatment, appropriate treatment with mental health and substance abuse, and we're okay with that on some level, you know? It just breaks my heart. And I never really worked in mental health, so, I mean, I work specifically in substance abuse. I mean, I saw other things like coexisting issues, but I always worked, like, you know, when I worked in treatment, I always worked with a psychiatrist and stuff like that. So I didn't really, those were not the issues that I was dealing with. I was dealing with substance abuse issues. So, I don't know, it's sad to me. I had a friend of mine whose son, like, really struggled, and she had worked kind of indirectly in the field, and she was like, Peter, I know, like, this is like schizoid behavior, this is like schizophrenia, the starting stages of schizophrenia. Well, the thing is that there's like this misunderstanding about schizophrenia that it just happens, right? It doesn't. It takes time to happen, and the people are usually aware of it. Like, it usually starts happening over a period of time. And she was like, I can't get him into the right doctors, and the right doctors are so expensive. Psychiatrists are so expensive. Private psychiatrists, to get just a basic mental health evaluation is like $300-400 today, you know? Most insurance companies won't approve that, so it's out of pocket. I mean, who can just afford a $400 psychiatric stay or psychiatric evaluation, right? Not a lot of people. That's a lot of money. You know, medicine is a lot of money. I mean, all these things are just a lot of money. And so, you know, she went around for 2 or 3 years where, I mean, she was afraid of him. She was afraid for him. She didn't know what to do, you know? And that's on a severe level. That's on a severe level. We're talking about schizophrenia, okay? Bring it down to anxiety and depression, which something like 88% of the U.S. society suffers from some form of, you know, anxiety or depression. I think it's 88-89% is something like that. I just actually read a statistic the other day because I try to keep up with this stuff. And it's like, you think about that, right? Well, how many people are misdiagnosed? What kind of depression? I mean, do you have fugue state depression, or do you have, you know, it's like, and then a lot of people can't afford medicine. A lot of people can't afford the doctor visits to get put on medicine. So you have, you know, let's say 70% of that 89% of mistreated people, or people that aren't treated, that are suffering alone out there. And then I think also it's like, I think a lot of people don't understand their own, you know, diagnoses. So it's like, they'll say, well, I'm this, or I'm that, or whatever. Because all they really believe is that, I don't know, I was very blessed to work with a lot of physicians, you know, in teams that really had a lot of hope. So it really wasn't just about the diagnosis, like, oh, this person is borderline, or this person is bipolar, or this person is depressed, right? It was never really about that. It was about, what's the solution to the problem? You know, how can we as a team give this person the best solution so they can live the happiest life possible, right? So that person 20 years from now isn't going, well, I'm a borderline, you know what I mean? Like, but that they lived effectively, and isn't that what we want for people that are suffering from mental health? Not to just become a diagnosis? Like, it breaks my heart, you know? I think my mother, who even had, you know, my mother was way too cheap to spend the money on the resources, but, like, I think sometimes, like, you know, had she later in life, because she went and saw therapists, and she went and saw psychiatrists and stuff like that, but I think later in life, had she spent the money to go get appropriate psych diagnoses, I think she could have really, really been helped. And the thing is that psych diagnoses change over time, you know? What looks like anxiety at one age, or what looks like, you know, something at this age, looks different 10 years down the road. And it can change and it can evolve over time. We just need to have more we need to have more affordable mental health and substance abuse treatment for people in the United States. People are dying from it every day. Oh, I just honked my own damn horn. And it's not even just about people dying. It's about people that are unable to function successfully. And what bothers me about it is, when you have people that, we have really, doing what I did in my past, you know, I was never able to diagnose, and I was never able to prescribe, because in the state of Indiana, you have to be a doctor to do that. But there are a lot of really good, healthy medications that can assist with people's issues today, as well as like talk therapy or structured programming and things like that, right? That people that don't have severe issues maybe have to suffer the way that people are, where they feel like they can't function, you know? I don't know, it breaks my heart for people that are suffering silently out there, and they don't really know how to communicate what they're going through, and there's a fear and a stigma of mental health as well, and, you know, it makes me really sad. But I think I've gone on for about a half an hour about it. I said this was going to be a short vlog, and now I've gone longer than I thought I was going to go. But yeah, like to go back to what I was saying before, like, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I thought, like, you know, I thought that, like, I could solve the world's problems, you know, and that I really loved doing, like, you know, peaceful protesting and going to, like, Earth Day rallies and all of that kind of stuff. And I liked being part of it, and I liked being part of the hope. But I think it was a crushing blow, maybe, when I realized that change happens a lot slower than that. I don't know, I think maybe I was too innocent and too naive, and I thought maybe the world was gonna change because of something that we were doing, and maybe it did, I don't know, you know? You know, Alex and I watched Pose, and we were watching it tonight, catching up from last week, and it was really interesting because if you've seen Paris is Burning, so this week's episode is about this one trans character on there. This guy dies by accident, and she's afraid of going to jail for murder. And so they're talking about, like, they wrap him in this plastic and cocoon him, like, in this wall. Oh, my battery's about to die. I don't even know if I have another battery. But it reminded me of Dory and Corey from Paris is Burning. And I was, like, sitting there thinking it. And when it was over, they put up a quote from Dory and Corey. I do have another battery. I don't know how full it is, though. And I was telling it, because Alex has never seen Paris is Burning. He has no desire to see Paris is Burning. Can you believe that? It kills me when he tells me. I'm like, Alex, you need to see Paris is Burning. He's like, yeah, I don't really care. He hates documentaries. He doesn't really like documentaries the way that I do. Okay, I'm going to pull in here and change this battery, and then I'm going to finish the vlog of love. My dad always adds of love to everything, so like he'll call it like the vacation of love. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Look at the sun coming up. Sun comes, oh my God, it's the Cowboy Junkie song. Sun comes up, it's Tuesday morning. Hits me straight in the eye, guess who last night. Oh, that's right. I used to love the Cowboy Junkies so much back in the day. I still do. I have a lot of their music downloaded. While I was sitting there, I was looking through some of the comments from the vlog last night. First of all, I just want to say to Kathy Tucker out there, you cracked me up. So I started laughing. I was like, oh my God. She said, I want the Boo Radley haircut. I loved that comment so much. I don't know why. But to everybody that was like, Jason and Melissa did not get to see Lady Gaga sing with Tony. It was Tony Bennett. I don't know who I said, Dean Martin. Dean Martin's been dead forever. Hasn't Dean Martin been dead for like 50 years? It was Tony Bennett. So yeah, they got to see Lady Gaga sing with Tony Bennett. Apparently he came out on stage and everything, and they said it was really, really cool. And they sang cheek to cheek and danced. And you can also, for the piano show, you can buy seats. I guess they're like $3,000, $4,000, and actually sit on the stage on a table. And Gaga sings like right to you. Jason and Melissa didn't do all that. Melissa just wanted to get a meet and greet, but the meet and greets were like so expensive and they were sold out. They just couldn't do it, so. But they bought tickets to go see her again, like next year when we're all going to go to EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival, the music festival. They're going to be out there. They're going to go 2 days early and see Gaga again like they did this year. And I'm not really sure when Melissa became such a fanatical Lady Gaga fan, but anyway, now I completely forgot about what I was talking about before because I sat there and read the comments. Somebody said they loved to talk about the books and the skincare routine and all that kind of stuff. I think to myself sometimes that I have to have, like, if I'm going to get on here, I have to talk about, like, some really, like, deep stuff. And I think for me, like, I remember, like, when I got really into mommy bloggers for a while, if you remember me talking about that. And I would just, like, I watched a lot of them. And I would have them on in the background. And, I would be watching them, you know, like, or listening to them when I was, like, cleaning the house and stuff. And they would be talking about, like, making lunch for their kids. Or, you know, like, how they were, you know, getting this done and getting that done all the same time. And I don't know, there was just something very, like, relaxing to me about it. And I love when people do haul videos. Like, hauls and favorites are still some of my favorite videos to watch. Or Q&As. Which is why I still do them on my Peter Monn channel, but those videos, like, don't do very well. Which I don't really care about that, but what that equates to is if they don't do very well, that people aren't really interested in that, right? Which, I mean, I'm not stupid. I know that a lot of people come to that channel for the drama, not me. So why would they be interested in watching a Q&A about me? I get it, right? But the thing is that for me as a person that, like, watches YouTube, like, it's interesting for me to, like, Gigi Gorgeous back in the day, she's changed so much, but a lot. But back in the day, like, her video content was a lot of hauls. You know, she would do, like, favorites of the week, and, you know, she would show her favorite perfumes or makeup products or whatever. And I loved those videos. Like, I loved watching, even if it was things that I would never use in a million years, just to hear somebody talk about it was, like, really interesting to me. I loved that, you know? And I loved seeing somebody else's perspective on different products or their favorites. Or, oh my God, back in the day, I used to love the What's in My Bag videos. I used to watch those all the time. We've become so complicated on YouTube now that I think that you have to have like a shtick and a gimmick, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have, it has to be like these far out there pranks, and, you know, you have to have some long-term game plan to what you're gonna do, and, you know, it's like all of these people that, this car doesn't realize that they can go around me. You know, the YouTubers that do very well have these huge, outrageous, you know, kind of plots to their channel and story times and stuff, and it's like, I don't know. I miss when there was like a simpler time on YouTube, when it was more just like people sitting in their bedrooms, you know, filming. And I used to love Glozell Green back in the day. I haven't watched a Glozell Green video and I couldn't tell you how long. I think part of what happens, well, Glozell Green used to, back in the day, if you ever watched her, she'd sit in front of her computer screen in a poorly lit room with horrible lighting, never looking, you know, like she was really that put together at all, except for this bright green lipstick that she had on. And she would sit there and she would read, like, lyrics to songs. Like, I'll never forget when I saw the one about that TikTok by Kesha. If you've never seen Glozell Green's TikTok Kesha video, go watch it. It is probably one of the finest videos that has ever been made on YouTube. I mean, her absolute, just genuine, authentic sense of humor. It's like stand-up comedy in its rawest form. And I think part of what happens is, like, people, like, they do it because they love it or because they're having fun with it, and then it's like it becomes very serious for them, and they change up like who they are because they think like, oh, like, I'm a serious YouTuber now, and so I have to really like think through this stuff, and I have to script it and plan it and put out better content. No, they're just videos, okay? We're just filming videos for, you know, a streaming platform. It's not that deep. Let's not like act like it is. Yes, there are some people out there that are doing some very structured things. You know, people talk a lot about Shane Dawson. Well, let's talk about the most popular girls in high school for a second. We're talking about a highly animated show that is made, animated, okay? Like, not animated, but automated, you know, whatever, with Barbie dolls that are in these constructed storyline, like, you know, screens of where they have like high schools built. I mean, these things that they don't even get that many views on. I mean, they do, like a couple 100,000, but it's not like it used to, you know, are probably some of the most thought out, most creative videos I have ever seen on YouTube. I love the most popular girls in high school, and they don't get half the acclaim that like some of these people do, you know? It's like, sometimes when I watch this beauty influencer stuff and they're like, oh my God, I have the most amazing video, I cannot wait to bring you this video, and the video gets like 15 million views on it, and it's like, I made myself into looking like Blue's Clues, and you're like, this was your creative video idea, that you took a palette and you turned yourself into looking, you know what I mean? Like, it's a Blue's Clues look on your forehead or something. Like, I don't understand. Like, that's not super creative to me. I just don't think it is. And I don't dislike it. Like, it's enjoyable for me to watch. I sit there and I, you know, eat my hummus and chips and watch the video, and it's like, okay, it is what it is, but it's like, how interesting are you as a YouTuber when it's not all of that? You know what I mean? When you're just sitting there talking. Crocker back in the day. And I love Chris Crocker from back in the day, but I do feel like he's like lost his mind a little bit today. I don't know. But Chris Crocker, like standing in the kitchen talking to his grandma back in the day, like I just loved watching that, you know? It just was so raw and like real. I don't know, maybe that happens to all of us, you know? It's like you do one thing and then people take you a little bit seriously, and so you start thinking that you have to be this serious thing, you know? It's like, you know, in Hollywood, when somebody, like Melissa McCarthy's actually a good example of this. You know, it's like, you're really good at comedy, and you're really good at doing these certain kinds of, you know, movies, and then people are like, but could she do a dramatic role? Well, she's not a dramatic actress. You know what I mean? So then she does something like that movie, Can You Forgive Me, which she was fantastic in, but quite frankly, she was still Melissa McCarthy to me. I mean, she wasn't a whole lot different than she was in other things. She was just toned down. And it was very sad. I thought she was fantastic in that movie. I didn't believe that she was Oscar worthy in comparison to the other movies that I saw. But I couldn't believe, I wanted Glenn Close to win for The Wife. I just thought that movie was so good. Oh my God. I just about died when I saw that movie. I thought that movie was, oh, she was so good in that. I know people don't. My dad can't stand Glenn Close. He like has hated her ever since that movie back in the, he doesn't hate her, but he's like, oh, he's like, always like, she gets on my nerves. And I'm like, did you see The Wife? And he's like, yeah, I thought it was great. She was fantastic in it. But he's like, she gets on my nerves. He is like, she's got on his nerves ever since that movie, Fatal Attraction. He always brings, like, whenever you talk about Glenn Close, he always brings up Fatal Attraction. I'm like, yeah, Dad, that movie came out when I was like a junior, like in junior high. I can see that scene in my head where she's like, I'm not, is that what we're doing? We're just playing around? I'm not playing around, or whatever she says. Oh my God. I don't even know that I've seen it all the way through, honestly. I remember my mom, like, watched that movie, and I think she, I don't know what she thought, but I remember at the time, do you guys know who Betty Broderick is? Okay, I don't know why. People, this is the crazy thing, is when people are like, how do you come up with things for your videos? Like, and it just goes like this, and then it goes, brrr, like the vlog just takes a turn. Okay, Betty Broderick was this woman, and she was on Oprah several times, and she, I will never forget my mom watching her, and my mom was like, I mean, I remember my mom saying to me, like, you know, she has a lot of really good points. And I was like, Mom, you're, like, seriously? Like, you need to check yourself. Like, this is, you're starting to scare me a little bit. She's like, oh, no, I would never do it. She did. But, like, she has some valid points. Betty Broderick was the wife. She and her ex had four, 5 kids together. And she... like so her husband divorced her and got remarried to this other woman, and she would constantly like talk bad about them and stuff like that, right? And yeah, this was gonna be a short vlog tonight, sure, Peter. And she would always talk bad about them and stuff, and the kids would get really upset about it, and they'd be like, don't talk about Dad, don't talk about Dad. And do you know, I was wondering the other day, like, there's little air holes in my chair. Can you hear them? And, like, I play with them, and I'm, like, wondering if, like, this one over here has, like, a little thing in it. And I'm like, I hope I didn't rip that. But anyway, so Betty Broderick, I think she might, like, still be in jail. I'm not sure. Her kids were, like, with her, I think, or with relatives or something for the night. And she went over and she shot her husband's new wife, and she shot him and killed him too. And she stood by what she did and said that she thought that her kids were better off without them. Because, I don't know. I just remember seeing her on the show. You can look it up. Betty Broderick. It's on YouTube. And she looks like everybody's, like, housewife in the suburbs. And there's not a lot of remorse there. I don't know what made me think of her. Do you ever wonder, like, pop culture things that you've watched through the years that have really stood out to you? Like, I remember back in the day seeing that made-for-TV movies used to always, like, stick with me. Like, I Know My First Name is Steven was probably, like, the very first Lifetime movie that ever, like, really stuck with me. I think that might be why I love to read about stories of like I don't love it, but it's intriguing to me to read about stories of like kidnappings and things like that. I remember when I read that, like, was it J.C. Duggar? Is she the one that was kept in the place behind the house? And then she had a baby with the guy that kidnapped her and everything like that. That whole story was crazy town to me. Like, that she actually lived through that. Was that her name? I can't remember. I always get it wrong. There's always like two different stories. The girl that was kept by like the weird religious cult, I always get that story, and the other story where the girl was actually kidnapped and kept behind the house, and they had like a carriage house out back, and it was all fenced in, and the wife was in on it too. Like, I always get those stories mixed up. But I read that one, and that one was really interesting. And she actually, I've seen her on talk shows, she seems like really normal today. And I think she just had some like innate, like born in her survival instinct that she was never going to give up. Because her story is like, I don't even know how she made it. But isn't it weird, like, what kind of pop culture stuff, like, really, really sticks with us? I guess I kind of think about that a lot, too, like, reading A Year of True Crime. By the way, whoever recommended the new podcast about the Golden State Killer to me, I just screenshotted it in the comments, and I'm going to look it up. So thank you for that. Somebody said it was a new take on the whole Golden State Killer thing, and it was a new podcast. So I'm going to listen to that. But it's interesting to me, the things I find myself, like, you know, gravitating towards or reading or whatever. I think also, like I said, reading A Year of True Crime has really kind of opened my eyes to, I don't even really know how to say it, like a lot of evil that's lurking out there that we don't really even think about. I truly did not, like, the sun has come up while I have been sitting here vlogging. I'm, like, looking, and it's coming up over there. Can you see it? It's really pretty. Sun comes up, it's Tuesday morning. All right, well, I'm going to get off here now because now I'm starting to mess with the camera, and it's about to come out of this beanbag, so that's probably a good sign that it's time for me to sign off, and I need to get home anyway. Being that I have to be back. I slept all night long, so now I'm like wide awake. And I'll go home and I'll sit on the front porch and I'll watch an episode of Girls Incarcerated, and then I'll read for a half an hour, and then I'll go to lay down and go to bed, and then I'll get up from the vet appointment. I'll be so tired. But you know, it's not a bad life, is it? It really isn't. I feel very blessed. And I'm definitely starting the magic book today. So, yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday. Unless you have other plans, make the most of your day. Don't have other plans. I'm not going to say that don't have other plans anymore because it sounds corny. I'm just going to say make the most of your day. I'm still going to say, though, have an amazing Tuesday unless you have other plans, because that's what I was taught. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Look in the mirror. Tell yourself every day it's important to believe in yourself, and pass it on to somebody else. Those little patios are cute right there. Listen to me going up. They're like screened in little patios. I'd like to have a screened in little patio. And pass it on to somebody else. Make sure that you let somebody in your life know how important they are to you today. And each of us needs to hear that on a daily basis. And I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya.